What if, on a cold, shadowed night, an unseen presence reached out and began to rewrite the destiny of an ordinary family? Imagine a quiet town where every whispered breeze and creaking floorboard carries a secret too heavy to ignore. In Newcastle, nearly 2 centuries ago, the Mortland family experienced a series of events that challenged everything they once believed about safety and certainty. This is not a tale of ghost stories or overactive imaginations. It is the account of a family confronted with a force they could neither understand nor escape. Picture the Mortland home, a modest farmhouse on the outskirts of a town known more for its forgotten past than for any promise of a bright future. In that isolated corner of Newcastle, the everyday was slowly transformed into a waking nightmare. At first, the signs were barely noticeable, an unexpected noise echoing through empty rooms, a fleeting shadow caught in the periphery of vision, and soft murmurs that seemed to come from nowhere. Yet, as night followed night, these moments grew into experiences that unsettled everyone who lived there. Locals spoke in hushed tones about the land beneath the Mortland estate, suggesting that long-buried secrets had a way of clawing their way to the surface when least expected. Some believed that the soil itself remembered past events, that old wounds and lost voices found a way to make themselves known. In the Mortland household, these whispers turned into a constant reminder that something was amiss, a presence that seemed intent on leaving its mark on every life it touched. As the weeks turned into months, the family found themselves battling an invisible force that eroded not only their peace, but also their very sense of self. Personal diaries and letters, preserved over generations, recount moments of dread so intense that they altered the course of everyday life. These records speak of long, sleepless nights filled with an eerie quiet punctuated only by inexplicable sounds, and days marked by an ever-growing anxiety that no rational explanation could soothe. Critics later argued that the Mortland experience was nothing more than the product of extreme isolation and a mind stretched to its limits by hardship. Yet, the consistency of the accounts, the shared look of fear in the eyes of neighbors, the corroborated details found in dusty records, suggest that what occurred was far beyond mere imagination. In a time when superstition often mingled with reality, the events at the Mortland home left an indelible mark on the town of Newcastle. This narrative is not simply a recounting of historical events. It is an invitation to question the boundaries of what we accept as true. As you listen to these words, consider the possibility that the experiences of the Mortland family were a clash between the ordinary and something entirely unknown. Were they simply victims of their own stress and isolation, or did they face a presence that defied logical explanation? One that reached deep into the very heart of their existence? The voices from that time speak of long evenings where the line between reality and something altogether different became blurred. Neighbors remember the chilling stillness that fell over the area, as if nature itself had paused in apprehension. Eyewitnesses, though few, recalled the unmistakable feeling that every step taken within the Mortland home was watched by something unseen. These recollections, passed down like fragile heirlooms, compel us to look at the past with a renewed sense of curiosity and caution. Tonight, we journey into the story of the Mortland family, a story that has stirred debate among historians, skeptics, and those who claim to have felt its echoes in their own lives. It is a story of hope lost and the relentless pursuit of answers in the face of overwhelming uncertainty. In every carefully recorded detail, in every trembling admission of fear, lies a challenge to our understanding of what is possible. Stay with us as we trace the footsteps of those who lived through these unsettling times. Listen as we piece together accounts from diaries, old letters, and first-hand testimonies. Let the voices of the past guide you through a labyrinth of memories where every question seems to lead to another mystery. We will examine the events that left the Mortland family forever changed and explore how a single, inexplicable force could cast such a long shadow over an entire community. This is not a story that offers easy answers or comforting conclusions. Instead, it asks you to consider the weight of history and the power of forces that, even today, remain shrouded in uncertainty. As we uncover the layers of time and memory, we invite you to question what you think you know about safety, fate, and the unseen influences that sometimes shape our lives. Prepare yourself for a journey into a territory of the unknown, where the past and the present merge in unexpected ways, where every sound in the dark might carry a message, and where the legacy of a single family's struggle continues to spark debate and fear. In Newcastle, the story of the Mortland family is a reminder that some mysteries refuse to be forgotten, and that sometimes, the truth is both more complicated and more haunting than any tale we have ever heard. Before the dark events unfolded, the Wainwright family had embarked on a new chapter in the remote outskirts of Newcastle. They arrived with little more than hope and determination, setting up a modest farmhouse amid the rugged Appalachian foothills. Thomas Wainwright, a man of quiet strength with hands calloused by hard work, believed that perseverance would shield them from the unpredictable hardships of frontier life. His wife, Mary, carried a gentle resolve, softly affirming every evening, "Our faith and unity will guide us through these uncertain times." Their children, Jonathan and Lily, roamed the wild landscapes, their laughter echoing against the ancient trees and weathered rocks. Newcastle itself was a place shrouded in old stories and quiet warnings. The town's residents spoke in low voices about odd happenings, a soft murmur late at night, inexplicable footsteps in the dew, and faint voices that seemed to drift through the cold air. Elders recalled legends passed down through generations, tales of forgotten souls and age-old curses that clung to the land like a persistent fog. In these murmurs lay a warning, one that the Wainwrights would soon come to feel in the depths of their hearts. One crisp evening, as the family gathered around a modest hearth, Thomas broke the silence. "This land carries more than the weight of our dreams," he said, his voice steady yet tinged with unease. Mary replied, "We honor the past by living with respect, but sometimes respect is not enough to fend off what may lurk in the shadows." Their words, exchanged in gentle tones, belied the undercurrent of tension that had begun to seep into everyday life. Life on the frontier was a constant battle against the elements and the hardships of isolation. Every day brought with it a test of endurance, a struggle against bitter winds, harsh winters, and the unforgiving terrain. Yet, it was the quiet rumors of Newcastle that struck deepest. At the local tavern, whispers told of odd impressions in the earth, of unseen forces that left behind more questions than answers. Neighbors would mention a door creaking in the dead of night, or an object inexplicably out of place, each account more unsettling than the last. Within the walls of their farmhouse, the Wainwrights began to notice small, unaccountable signs. A tool misplaced without reason, a door left open on an otherwise secure night, and soft voices that seemed to murmur secrets in the darkness. Jonathan once confided to his sister, "Last night, I heard someone calling my name by the barn." Lily, eyes wide with a mixture of wonder and worry, could only respond in silence, her mind racing with unspoken questions. As days turned to weeks, the once familiar rhythms of their life were disrupted by these unexplained events. Every unexpected sound and fleeting shadow carried the weight of an unanswered mystery. The calm certainty they once knew was steadily replaced by a growing sense of dread. Neighbors shared knowing glances when the topic arose, each recounting their own encounters with the inexplicable, as if the very air had become a harbinger of an unknown warning. In the midst of hardship and toil, the Wainwrights had no inkling that these peculiar disturbances were the prelude to a far more daunting chapter. With each setting sun, as the chill crept closer and the night seemed to whisper secrets, an invisible countdown began. A quiet promise loomed. A promise that soon, the stillness of the night would shatter, revealing a force that would challenge the very fabric of their existence. The old stories of Newcastle, once thought to be mere echoes of a bygone era, were resurfacing with a quiet persistence. They hinted at a power that had long lingered, waiting for a moment of vulnerability to emerge. And as the family lay awake beneath a sky heavy with unspoken threats, the questions mounted. Were these events simply the product of weary minds, or was there truly an uninvited presence that watched, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself? In the hushed moments before dawn, with uncertainty weighing on every heartbeat, the Wainwright family unknowingly stood at the threshold of an encounter that would forever alter their lives. The land of Newcastle, with its age-old legends and quiet warnings, had chosen its moment. And as the countdown to that fateful night began in earnest, the unanswered questions lingered like a shadow at the edge of every thought, promising that what was about to unfold would leave no heart untouched by fear. Night fell heavy over the Wainwright estate. In the quiet hours, when even the wind seemed to hold its breath, a new terror began to make its presence known. At first, there were soft, unexplained knocks echoing through empty halls, a gentle, almost pleading sound that shattered the fragile silence. Thomas, clutching a fading journal by the dim light of a flickering lamp, noted, "Every night, the house speaks in voices I cannot understand. They murmur words that vanish before I can grasp them." Mary, sitting at the worn wooden table, added in a hushed tone, "I feel eyes upon us, unseen yet ever so real. It is as if the night itself has grown jealous of our peace." Her words lingered in the cold air, each syllable a thread in the growing tapestry of dread. At first, the disturbances were small, a fleeting movement at the edge of vision, a door that creaked open in a draftless room. But as the days shortened and the chill deepened, the uninvited presence grew bolder. A diary entry from Jonathan revealed his mounting terror. "Last night, I heard a voice, a warped whisper that called my name from behind the walls. I could not tell if it was a warning or a plea." His trembling handwriting carried the weight of secrets too frightening to speak aloud. Lily, too, felt the shift. In a faded letter tucked away in an old trunk, she confided, "I woke to find a shadow near my bed, moving slowly, deliberately. I could not move, as if fear itself had tied my limbs." Her words, written in a shaky script, hinted at the darkness that had seeped into every corner of their home. As the unease mounted, the quiet moments became a countdown. Each tick of the clock signaled another minute of relentless uncertainty. Thomas would pause, pen in hand, and scribble frantic notes about sounds that defied logic. Among those drawn into the mystery was Ms. Evelyn, a respected spiritual guide whose quiet reputation brought her unexpected attention. "When I stepped onto the property," she murmured softly during a small gathering, "I felt an overwhelming sorrow, a weight of old grief that seems to cling to every corner of that house." Her account lent an air of urgency to the unfolding investigation, stirring a mix of hope and terror among the listeners. Newspapers soon picked up the story. A faded article in the Newcastle Chronicle recounted the curious events with headlines that read, "Mystery at the Wainwright Homestead." Official documents, handwritten testimonies, and sketches from local inquests began to fill file folders, each piece of evidence deepening the mystery. A handwritten note left on the doorstep of the house simply stated, "Your time is nearly at an end." Its stark message unsettled everyone who read it. As more reports poured in, theories clashed. One respected psychologist argued, extended isolation and hardship can warp perceptions, making ordinary sounds seem like warnings. But an experienced paranormal investigator countered, every incident here builds on the last. It is as if there is a deliberate message, a series of marks meant to be read. The contrast between these views left townsfolk questioning whether the events were merely the product of stressed minds or the work of something beyond ordinary explanation. In a twist that sent shockwaves through the community, a local handyman discovered an old ledger hidden in the attic of the Wainwright home. Its leather cover was worn, and its pages filled with cryptic notes and dates that stretched far back into the town's history. "This ledger speaks of a curse," he whispered when asked about his find, "of events that echo through time and may be connected to what we're witnessing now." His discovery became the focus of heated debate. Was this ledger a relic of forgotten sorrow, or a key to unlocking the dark mystery haunting the house? Sheriff Thompson gathered the evidence, the testimonies, and the conflicting theories in one long meeting with the town's most concerned citizens. "We must consider every possibility," he stated firmly, his eyes scanning the worried faces around him. "While some accounts may be influenced by fear, there is enough here to warrant a thorough investigation." His determination did little to ease the collective unease, for every new piece of evidence only deepened the open questions. In the days that followed, reports of unusual happenings multiplied. A shopkeeper recalled, "I heard a counting, soft taps at my window, as if marking the minutes until something dreadful arrived." A schoolteacher admitted, "I could no longer dismiss the unease in my own home after hearing similar sounds and seeing unfamiliar shadows." The consistency of these experiences, reported by people from all walks of life, forced even the staunchest skeptics to acknowledge that the mystery was real. Each day seemed to mark a new chapter in this unfolding tragedy, a relentless countdown to an unknown climax. Every whispered account and every piece of physical evidence added weight to the question that now haunted every conversation. Was the disturbance merely the echo of human fear, or had an unseen force truly taken hold of the Wainwright home? And just when the investigation seemed poised to offer answers, a final twist emerged. In the ledger's final entry, a barely legible note scrawled in hurried handwriting, a single question was posed without answer. What did that final message mean? As the town held its breath, the answer remained just out of reach, leaving everyone to wonder if the truth would ever be revealed, or if it would only drive them further into the dark unknown. The night arrived, heavy with dread. Every heartbeat felt like the toll of an unseen clock. At the stroke of midnight, the house seemed to exhale a breath of anticipation. A door slammed in a place no one could see. Thomas stared at the wall clock as its hands crept forward, each second echoing like a final drumbeat. "This is it," he whispered, his voice raw with fear. "Our time has come." Mary clutched his arm. "I feel it in every shadow, every whisper," she murmured. Outside, a rapid series of knocks rattled the windows, sharp, deliberate, as if counting down the moments until fate struck. Jonathan, trembling in the corner of a dim room, scribbled a hurried note. "The silence shatters with every sound. I can no longer tell if it's a warning or a declaration." Lily's eyes darted to every corner, her mind racing with a mixture of terror and desperate hope. "Why now?" she managed to ask, voice barely audible. In response, the knocks grew louder, the murmurs more insistent, each one a piece of a puzzle too vast to solve. In that charged moment, the house itself seemed to breathe, its walls trembling under the weight of secrets. A sudden crash from the attic sent shockwaves through the family. Thomas dashed upward, his footsteps quick and uneven. "Something is coming," he shouted back to his family, his words laced with both urgency and despair. In the darkened hallway, every small noise merged into one overwhelming surge of dread. The family gathered near the staircase, eyes fixed on a door that now pulsed with an otherworldly energy. "Can we stop it?" Mary asked, her voice breaking. No answer came, only the relentless countdown of sounds and a creeping sense that nothing could ever be the same again. With each passing moment, the barrier between what they knew and the unknown thinned to a mere whisper of possibility. The knocks, the crashes, the unspoken warnings. It was all building, each instance a step toward the inevitable climax. Jonathan's frantic note ended with a single, desperate question. Will we survive this night, or is it already our last? Then, in a moment that froze time, the relentless assault reached its peak. In that heart-stopping moment, the fate of the Wainwright family was sealed. But was the true horror ever fully revealed? In the aftermath of that fateful night, an unsettling quiet fell over the old farmhouse. The once familiar warmth of the Wainwright home was replaced by an icy emptiness. By morning, the living room lay in disarray. Shattered trinkets and scattered pages from a diary that no one dared read completely. Thomas had vanished without a trace. Mary was found huddled near the front steps, her eyes distant as she murmured, "We saw too much, and now nothing will ever be the same." Jonathan's last journal entry, smeared with trembling handwriting, ended with a single desperate question. Will the night ever truly let us go? Lily was gone too, spirited away into an uncertain future, leaving behind only a single faded ribbon. As word of the night spread through Newcastle, a heavy sadness and wary fear settled over the community. Neighbors exchanged hushed accounts of what they had heard and seen. Whispers of strange lights in the windows of the old farmhouse and echoes of footsteps in deserted corridors. Mrs. Langley, an elder in town, recalled with a trembling voice, "I remember that night as if it were a wound that would never heal. It changed everything." People began to speak of an unending countdown, a reminder that time itself had taken on a new, ominous rhythm since that dreadful evening. Local authorities, once confident in their methods, now found themselves grappling with more questions than answers. Sheriff Thompson, speaking to a small group of anxious citizens, admitted, "We found no signs of a typical struggle. Instead, it seems as though the house was emptied of hope itself." A series of baffling reports followed. Mysterious figures seen in the periphery, soft voices echoing in the dead of night, and inexplicable marks that defied explanation. Every new testimony added another layer to the mystery, deepening the collective fear. Over time, the tragic events of that night wove themselves into the fabric of local folklore. Old photographs of the farmhouse, now weathered and yellowed, were passed down as cautionary relics. Handwritten letters and accounts, filled with both sorrow and dread, surfaced in the town's archives. A local historian later remarked, "The Wainwright tragedy became a symbol, a reminder that some forces linger far beyond the reach of our understanding." A descendant of the family, speaking quietly in an interview, confessed, "Sometimes I feel that our family's spirit remains trapped there, forever entwined with that endless night." Visitors and investigators, driven by an insatiable curiosity, returned to Newcastle searching for clues. They combed through dusty records and listened intently to the whispered recollections of longtime residents. One visitor, gazing at the abandoned homestead, remarked, "Each piece of evidence raises a new question. The true nature of that night remains just beyond our grasp." Their words only fueled further speculation, turning the tragedy into a puzzle with missing pieces, a mystery that the town could neither resolve nor forget. Even as years passed, the legacy of that dreadful night held a powerful grip on Newcastle. The farmhouse stood as a silent monument to loss and unanswered questions, a reminder that some events can echo through time. The community learned to live with the lingering trauma, a persistent reminder that some secrets are too heavy to cast aside. And in every whispered conversation and every trembling recount of that night, the question persisted. What really happened in the darkness, and will the true horror ever be fully understood? The tale of the Wainwright family, etched into the fabric of Newcastle, leaves us with more questions than answers. In a single night of relentless terror, hope was shattered and lives unraveled. Thomas vanished without a trace. Mary was left haunted by memories that no comforting words could erase. Jonathan's desperate notes and Lily's fading ribbon serve as grim reminders of a night when time itself seemed to count down to despair. In the days that followed, the community struggled to understand what had taken place. Whispers filled the streets and alleys, as neighbors recalled every odd sound, every fleeting shape in the darkness. The local law enforcement, the spiritual guides, and even those once skeptical of such tales now found themselves drawn into a mystery that defied reason. A worn ledger, half-forgotten photographs, and accounts written in trembling script slowly turned the Wainwright tragedy into local lore. A warning passed from one generation to the next. Now, the legacy of that dreadful night casts a long shadow over Newcastle. The farmhouse stands abandoned, a silent monument to a time when the boundary between the familiar and the unknown was all but erased. Historians and descendants alike have noted that this event, this curse, continues to whisper through the corridors of memory, leaving a mark that seems destined never to fade. So, we are left with a final, lingering question. Do you believe that the terror was born of human frailty, a response to isolation and despair? Or was it the work of an unknown force that defies our understanding? What do you make of the evidence left behind? The desperate messages written in ink and fear, and the unending echoes of that night? Share your thoughts, your theories, and your own experiences in the comments. Your insights may shed light on the mysteries that continue to haunt us. If you found this investigation compelling, please like, subscribe, and share this story with others who seek answers. Join us as we continue to explore the mysteries hidden in the shadows of history. For some stories never end, and perhaps that is their truest curse.